Okay, a couple weeks before the combine, and then it's free agency, then it's the draft. So this is kind of the last week before that. Both GMs and coaches are kind of quiet right now, but we'll start hearing from them again in a couple weeks. But Brad Holmes, some things have happened, and it's really like you see Brad Holmes' strategy, you see how hard it is to execute, but it all starts with drafting well. And then once you draft well, you can see some of the things that he's doing with his contract. So we'll get to that. But before we do that, um, let's just take a look here. What was your favorite game of 2020? Enough times passed that we can kind of talk about the year and just celebrate how awesome it really was. It was one half, right? That just kind of leaves a sour taste in your mouth. But other than that, I mean, come on, incredible year, division champs, Arrowhead, the whole thing. So let's look at Pride Detroit and what they said. Game of the year, they said Lions, Rams, Eric Schlitt. Yep. Miko Scott. I think they all said it. Lions, Rams, Lions, Rams, Lions, Rams. Okay. Here we go. Lions 49ers. It was the greatest half of my life, that Niners game. But yeah, for me it was definitely this one. I mean, obviously awesome. But I mean, you look back at the first game of the season, that was really cool too. Against the defending Super Bowl champions. You go in, beat them. That same team ends up winning the Super Bowl again. I mean, the Lions, like they prove that they can play with anybody. We know that, and it's cool. So the standard's like really high next year, and we love it. Okay, so here's what's happened, and shows why Brad Holmes is a genius. 7 Detroit Lions contracts automatically void, creating millions in dead cap. So this headline, Pride of Detroit, it kind of sounds bad, but I'm going to show you that it's not bad. It's really smart, and the path to why this really works. So 7 Detroit Lions automatically void, which means they end, and 14 million in dead cap space. So what this means is when Brad Holmes signs these players, he signed them to a 2-year deal worth 10 million, right? That's what it looks like on paper, but he actually threw in another void year, which means they're not on our team. They're free agents, but they're still going to get paid by us. And it's a way to us say, hey, we're taking care of you, Teddy Bridgewater, right? Without actually paying him and hurting that current year. So the reason you push and push and you're constantly pushing down the road and kicking the can, which is like not good in any like form of life. You want to take care of things generally, right? You want to, because at some point you're going to have to pay up, but not really in this case because the salary cap continues to rise. So as you kick things down the line, the salary cap kind of stays ahead of you, and you can almost do it forever because again, you have to be smart about it. But look at these dead cap hits; they're very manageable. I mean, Vitae he didn't do, and Romeo Aquara he didn't do. Those are the two big ones. CJ Gardner Johnson's 2 million. I mean, for your starting stud safety to pay a 2 million this year, and him maybe not on the team, it doesn't matter. It's no big deal. So these dead cap numbers are nothing, and that's why the Lions are 50 million under the cap, and that's why you draft well. You've got a cheap player. That player comes up, and either you take care of them when it's time and you give them a big contract, or if they walk and they're a good player, then you get a comp pick the following year. And so that guy leaves, you get a 3rd round pick, you get a 2nd round pick. So you're constantly replenishing the picks, cheap guys that are really talented, St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch. I mean, these are like star players for us, and they'd be on any team, and they're getting paid nothing, and you don't have to worry about it, and you can't even do anything for 3-4 years. So it's crazy. So if you look at it, let's go to the current contracts and where they're at. Sorry, let me get okay. So you look at running back, for example, and this is where you sign a great free agent and you draft a really good player. So you got the co-starters here, and then all these guys, man, you can fill that in with however you want to, right? So if you go through, we won't go through each line by line, but Brad Holmes has drafted really well in almost every position, and then he's been smart with the free agent that he's brought in. So go down here, wide receiver, drafted Amon-Ra St. Brown, drafted Jamison Williams, Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond. Perfect, right? So you can see the drafted guys are the starters. And so that's the second part of Brad Holmes' really smart strategy. And we'll really get to see it all play out here as he has to go from drafting really well, smart with free agents, turning over a roster, to now how do you manage and pay your really good picks? Because, man, you're going to let, Penei Sewell walk? No, right? Obviously. But the point on that is Penei Sewell is going to be paid the top dollar. He's going to be the highest paid offensive tackle. You're going to have a quarterback that you just paid. Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be one of the top wide receivers, right? So the good news is Brad Holmes is getting the best players. Bad news is he now has to pay them. But we'll see how he manages that. We will see. But up until this point, everything that he's done has just worked. Here we go. Sam Laporta, drafted, starter, star. Penei Sewell, drafted. And now this is where I think the Lions will spend a bulk of their draft picks or time or resources or energy of just like trying to find another offensive tackle and a guard. They need to draft guards and tackles. They spent a lot of time focusing on skill players. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta. Look at Jahmyr Gibbs, but they're going to have to go interior offensive line, anywhere on the offensive line. Frank Ragnow, absolute star. We know this. Injury concerns. Jonah Jackson, injury concerns. Graham Glasgow, just older. But again, this is the only place on the team that Brad Holmes really hasn't drafted yet. And man, if he can knock out of the park an offensive lineman, that is. And he said it. He said offensive linemen are they're the team. Like they are our team. And I loved hearing that. They are our team. We run through our offensive line. So true. All right, look at here. Defensive tackle, drafted. And hasn't hit on defensive tackle like I think you would like to. Either Levi or Broderick has to step up next year. We'll see what happens. Edge rushers, got to hit on one of these. These were all drafted guys here on the top, and then kind of old legacy players from the Matt Millen era. Just James Houston was drafted, just not great, right? So again, we won't go through line by line, but you can see that the Lions, Brad Holmes, genius, kick the can with contracts, kick it, just let it keep going. It's weird and it's unnatural to do that because he's like, well, it doesn't work. You have to pay. No, just throw contracts to the future, play for the present. You'll handle those when you get to them because you can keep kicking down the road. The salary cap goes up. So let me know your thoughts in the comments on this. Love what the Lions are doing. I think they can keep drafting well. Sky's the limit. Got to hit on some offensive linemen. We will see all of you on the next one.